You wanna know what I love? Zombies. I know they've been done to death in most media, but I still love these guys. There are so many amazing zombie movies that I can list. Night of the Living Dead, Reanimator, Train to Busan, etc. And of course I can't forget about the games. Resident Evil, Left 4 Dead, and the topic of today's video, Dead Rising. Dead Rising, in my opinion, is one of the greatest zombie games ever made. Next to Resident Evil 4 and Left 4 Dead 2, those also have a very special place in my heart. Taking inspiration from the classic Romero film Dawn of the Dead, you play as Frank West, trapped inside the mall located in the fictional town of Willamette. Man, I love this game so much. It is super unique compared to most games out there. It has a super unique gameplay loop. You're placed on a time limit to beat the main campaign. While you're doing the main campaign, you can also find side quests, usually involving saving survivors and beating bosses, also known as psychopaths. So, you as Frank West have to juggle all these different missions so that you can beat the main campaign and also collect as many survivors and beat as many bosses so you can level up Frank so he'll be ready for the end game. And that's what I love about it, the amazing system that hasn't really been done in many other games. Also, being able to kill any zombie in the mall with any item that you pick up is really cool. Dead Rising just has a great sandbox all around. I don't think I've ever seen another game that's replicated this type of gameplay. The only other games that I can think of that do that are, well, the sequels. I do enjoy them, well, most of them, but the first one will forever be my favorite. However, due to a certain entry, the Dead Rising franchise seems to be, well, dead. Insert drum sound effect here. I lost faith that there would ever be a new entry in this series that I love, but that would change on one random day. I was scrolling on Twitter, and yes, I do refuse to call it X, and I saw something that caught me off guard. Hallelujah! Dead Rising was back. A full-on remake of the OG Dead Rising was in development. And before I continue, I know that Capcom calls it a remaster, but this is a remake. A remaster is more what we got in 2016 when they ported the game to PC and modern consoles at the time. To me, a remake is changing engines and also making changes to the game as a whole. But I'm getting off track. I definitely was excited to see this long-gone franchise come back. However, with this being a remake of one of my favorite games ever made, I obviously had some concerns. But after a not so long wait, I finally got the game in my hands. Now, I'm here with my opinion, and my final opinion on this game is that it's pretty decent. I'm just gonna give you a brief review right now. I think that this game overall is good, but I still prefer the original. The new game is great for newcomers, and also has a lot of quality of life stuff. However, even with the quality of life stuff, I still prefer the challenge of the original. So if you want more of a challenge, go for the original game. But if those quality of life changes do look more interesting to you and you don't want to deal with some 2006 jank, go for the quote-unquote remaster. The reason I already gave you my opinion is because in the rest of this review, I'm going to be spoiling some stuff for the game. So if you want to play the game completely blind, then click off the video. But if you already played either version of the game, or don't really care about spoilers, let's continue. So basically, this remake feels relatively the same to the original game. Frank definitely feels better to control, and I should mention I used the new modern controls features while playing this game. I mainly did it so I can try out one of the biggest changes to Frank, being able to move and aim at the same time. It's kind of crazy that the original game never had this, but oh well, better late than never. If you equip classic controls, then you're gonna be stuck standing still while aiming. Honestly, that's kind of annoying. I really wanted an option to free aim while having the original controls because that's what I was familiar with, but it's not a deal breaker. Now let's talk about the quote-unquote controversial changes that this remake makes. The biggest one that I see people talking about is the removal of erotica picture points. In the original game, you had different types of pictures with different photos having different categories, such as brutality, drama, horror, etc. One of those categories is erotica, for sexy photos, mainly of women. Actually, scratch that, exclusively of women. Now, if you want my opinion on this, I don't care that it's gone. It was never an important part of the game, so I don't think it's worth getting mad at. The only real problem with erotica being gone is how it impacts one of Kent's cutscenes. Kent in the story has already established himself as not a great guy. So when he asks you for a sexy photo, this isn't out of character for him. But with erotica photos out of the game, he had to change it so that instead you gotta give him an outtake photo. Now, I wouldn't care about this if it wasn't for the fact that they didn't change the cutscene where you give him the photo. Like, why the hell is he making that face? That's not the face that you would react for a outtake photo, aka the comedy photos. And also, it doesn't make sense to me because they went out of their way to change a different cutscene with Kent.
Now this is my sexiest shot.
Now this is my funniest shot.
But maybe I'm over-exaggerating too much. Speaking of cutscenes, let's talk about the voice acting. The voice actors in Dead Rising Deluxe Remastered have been changed from the original game. And overall, I am not the biggest fan of this change. I'm sure that these voice actors are giving it their all, and they're probably really nice people. But the voice direction was clearly off.
What in the hell are you people doing? Run! Quick, move! Get over here! What in the hell are you people doing? Run! Quick, move! Get over here!
Frank's voice actor did the best he can, and you know what? He ain't bad. I still prefer TJ Rotolo, but Jas Patrick did a good job. Though, if you ask me who did the best in the cast, it's definitely Adam the Clown. He sounds literally the same.
Everyone used to laugh at me. I was a walking punchline. Everyone used to laugh at me. I was a walking punchline.
I also don't know why Frank looks older. Now, I'm pretty sure, and correct me if I'm wrong, that Frank is supposed to be 36. I don't know why in the remake they made him look like he's in his 40s. I mean, it doesn't look bad, I'm just confused why they changed that. But I feel like I talked about enough negative stuff. Let's talk about some stuff that I actually like. Even though I'm not a fan of the voice acting, I do appreciate giving voices to characters that previously didn't have voices, because not every character in the game had a voice. It's finally amazing to hear the beautiful windpipes of Otis, a character that has never properly spoken before.
Well, if you're gonna go, at least take this transceiver with you. You better take this map too.
I also like that survivors mention seeing psychopaths in the mall. It's great for world building. Though I'm not a big fan of them telling me when I can do photos or just telling me things to do in general. I'm not a big fan of having my hand held through games. I also really enjoy the inclusion of scrap beta features from the original Dead Rising beta, such as cop zombies shooting you, and also just the addition of the rocket launcher is awesome. I'm also happy that they nerfed certain things in the game. The mini chainsaws nowhere feel as broken, and the Spitfire can no longer be used to cheese bosses, which I appreciate. By far one of my favorite changes, and this might be a bit of a silly one, being able to spare Thomas. To me, I love that the psychopaths have a lot of layers, especially because you don't really spend a lot of time with them realistically. So just adding this extra detail that has probably been suggested by fans in the past is really cool for the game devs to do. It was definitely a very worthwhile addition for the remake. Alright, now back to complaining. The remake introduces a new mechanic, being able to fast forward in time. Time is a very important aspect of Dead Rising. If you don't have a time limit, this isn't a proper Dead Rising game. Cough, cough, Dead Rising 4, cough, cough. My main concern with this fast forward feature is for new players. They might be incentivized to skip stuff when they should be doing it, because that's a big point of Dead Rising, is trying to do as much as you can. They'll probably see that one of their important case file is on a different day, so maybe they'll fast forward and skip out on something cool like a boss fight. I don't know, maybe I'm overthinking about it. I just love the timeline. It's what makes Dead Rising unique, so I get concerned when they find ways to make it less important. One change that I still don't understand is with Cliff. Cliff is heavily implied to be a Vietnam veteran, but for some reason they remove anything referencing that.
I know why. It's because you're Viet Cong. I'm right. Aren't I? You are nothing but a filthy communist!
I know why. It's because you're a mole. I'm right. Aren't I? You are nothing but a filthy animal!
I don't know if what he said was offensive, but I feel like this is doing a disservice to the character. Players now can only make the assumption that he was part of the military, which I don't like. Larry also had a big change. He doesn't even look the same anymore. This isn't much of a complaint because I can understand how Larry could be depicted as an offensive stereotype of a Chinese man. I just wish that this redesign was just as intimidating as the original design. I know I spent this video complaining, but I don't mind this remake. I am always going to prefer the original because of my bias. Something about its jank really appeals to me. This new game was made for a new audience, and I can respect that. If this was the team that they got to make a brand new Dead Rising game, I'd be happy. I would also like this team to make a deluxe remaster for 2 and Off the Record, mainly because the PC port of both of those games are not the best. I feel I would be a bit more harsher to this remake if you weren't able to buy the original. But thankfully, this isn't a GTA trilogy situation. As long as I'm still able to buy the original, then I see no harm in this remake. So if somehow you got through this whole video without checking out Dead Rising, please do, whether it be the original or the remake. Hell, even check out the sequels if you can, they are worth playing. Except for, you could throw that game into like a fireplace or something. Hey, hello, it's Unscripted Me here, everyone's favorite character. Ooh, happy Halloween. If it's not Halloween while you're watching this, then just ignore that. Thank you for watching this epic video that I made. It probably should have came out sooner, but better late than never. I literally said that in the video. I'm such a hack. Yeah, if you couldn't tell, if you watched my previous videos, I got a new mic and I'm still fiddling around with it. So if the video is like, you know, the audio is a bit weird and you hear some like stuff, you know, that's because I'm still messing around with this thing to make it, you know, perfect. I have more videos planned probably after October. This was the big Halloween video that I wanted to do before Halloween is over because I love the spooky season. And also this video is my opinion, so if you disagree with the video, that's totally fine. You know, everyone's got their own opinions on stuff, and be sure to like and subscribe because I'm a YouTuber and that's what you gotta do. You gotta show that, and have a good rest of your day.
You know how to use this?
Kinda. I've covered wars, you know.